From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, learning how to live longer by turning to our four-legged friends.
People love dogs, and dogs age much more quickly than humans do.
How you can be part of this pet project. And some good news about E15 at the pump. And starting this week, producers could soon see another payment show up in their bank account from the government.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. The second round of China trade aid is scheduled to go out this week. USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue saying in a statement, quote, "This second tranche of 2019 MFP payments, along with already provided disaster assistance, will give farmers who have had a tough year due to unfair trade retaliation and natural disasters much needed funds in the time for Thanksgiving." President Trump also talking about the payments over the weekend. Quote, "Our great farmers will receive another major round of cash, compliments of China tariffs. Prior to Thanksgiving, the smaller farms and farmers will be big beneficiaries. In the meantime, and as you may have noticed, China is starting to buy big again. Japan deal done, enjoy," end quote. And for some farmers, the payments could make all the difference.
It definitely makes a difference. If you look at USDA's own estimates of farm income for this year, the only reason that farm income is up for the country as a whole is because of the increased payments, primarily MFP. So that's been the difference between profit and loss for a lot of producers. Continuing those payments is very important to a lot of people if we don't have a resolution on the trade front.
USDA earmarked $14.5 billion for farmers and has paid out $6.8 billion as of last week. A third payment could come in January or early February if approved. Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer reporting his sources say that third payment is quite likely. Meanwhile, trade talks continue between the U.S. and China, including over the weekend. It's reported the two sides held constructive discussions in a phone call on Saturday. Both sides continuing to work toward a phase one trade deal. According to the Chinese Commerce Ministry, China's Vice Premier Liu He spoke with Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin and U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer. Now, the call was held at the request of the U.S. negotiators. President Trump had not yet agreed to remove any tariffs as part of a deal, and the size of China's commitment to buying U.S. ag products is still not clear. An update now on that fire at a Tyson beef plant in Kansas that sent ripples through the industry. Drovers reporting the plant will start back up in the first week of December and will be fully operational by the first week in January. The fire in August at a plant outside of Holcomb, Kansas, severely damaged a critical part of the plant containing the hydraulic and electrical systems. Now, the plant has a slaughter capacity of 6,000 head per day. Since the fire, cattle have been diverted to the company's other beef facilities in an effort to help minimize problems to producers and customers. And harvest continues to roll on. Corn harvest now 76% completed in the 18 states surveyed. That's 10% better than last week, but still well off the 5-year average of 92%. The northern tier of states only making small gains in a week's time. Much better news when it comes to soybeans, now 91% harvested, 6% better than last week, and just 4% off the 5-year average. Plantings of winter wheat almost done, right in line with that 5-year average. We love all those pictures of wide open spaces and scenic farms, but inside the barn can take on a life of its own too, as meteorologist Cindy Clausen shows us in today's crop comments.
Well, Clinton, candid photos don't get much better than this. The AgDay crew traveled to Cinnamon Ridge Farms in Donahue, Iowa. Here's a snapshot of a Jersey cow at the dairy. Known to be curious and have quite the personality, well, this picture sure shows it. I just love it. Thanks so much for grabbing that. Now, here's our wind speed forecast for the day. Things fairly quiet this morning. They pick up a little bit in the plains this afternoon, but watch what happens as we get into later tonight and certainly into tomorrow as we start to see storm systems continuing to develop into the southwest part of the country. We're going to see those winds picking up. We're also going to see those the rain picking up in the western part of the country as well. Now, a lot more on your national forecast coming up.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
We have some sad news to pass along to you about a farmer from southwest Michigan who had been battling eastern equine encephalitis. Friends and neighbors of Jim Whitwright say he passed away over the weekend. Jim came down with a high fever in August and had been in the hospital ever since. Another nearby farmer, Bill Teichman, is continuing to battle EEE. According to his GoFundMe page, he was discharged from the hospital but remains wheelchair bound. This year, EEE infected 10 people in Michigan alone. Harvest continues to move at a snail's pace, so what does it mean for markets heading into the end of the year? We'll take a look next in analysis. And later, those old farm dogs, some have quite the personality, don't they? And they may hold the secret to helping us all live longer lives. Details in the country. We know dairy consumption is down and yogurt is also feeling the pinch. Market research company Mintel says U.S. yogurt sales peaked at nearly $9 billion in 2015. They're expected to fall to $8.2 billion this year, and they could fall another 10% by 2024. The yogurt companies say new products can reverse that trend. Chobani has announced new oat-based yogurts, but it's also hedging its bets and launching its first non-yogurt products. And Mintel says yogurt is competing with other breakfast products like protein bars and nutrition shakes. E15 is available year-round for the first time this year, and new numbers show it's paying off. Growth Energy reporting that sales are up 46% this year compared to last. It also says this summer saw the number of stores offering it increase, with Casey's leading the way, adding 149 stores selling it over the summer. Soybeans started the week by sinking on China's concern President Trump won't agree to roll back tariffs in order to get a Phase 1 trade deal. Here's an update from the CME.
Today in the grain market, soybeans were a little bit lower. I think that confidence is fading for a deal to be signed. And the day really started out a little bit higher with, better demand. But, as time went on, it's really is against even a Phase 1 signing. There is some concerns that is just not going to happen, and you see it starting to be that effect happening into the market. Corn also was easier today. The slower demand is just pressuring the futures lower right now. Yields are still good enough to meet those USDA forecasts. We were hoping that maybe that would be something to driving force to keep the market higher, but it hasn't quite done that today. Today in the livestock market, cattle was mixed. It really traded both sides of unchanged, and the range has been pretty tight right now. The futures continue to move sideways, and it seems like no news is good news so far, but the longs are just not ready to liquidate, and it seems like the headline about the Kansas City Tyson plant is ready to go online very soon in 2 or 3 weeks, maybe is holding the market in check.
Jeff French, Top Third Ag Marketing, our guest today. Jeff, let's talk about this harvest pace, because if you look at the numbers, I think corn harvest is about 66% done, bean harvest about 85% done, but there's still a lot of grain out in the field.
Well, and there's not going to be no progress done here this week as well, because everybody's got snow on the ground. You look at the numbers, you break it down with 82 million acres, harvested acres is what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. So there's potentially 25 to 27 million acres of corn that still need to be harvested here as of mid-November. So there's still a lot of work to be done. I have some large producers up there in South Dakota that I haven't even put on their corn head as of right now. So there's a lot of acres that need to be harvested, and obviously a lot of bushels that need to be coming in.
And it's going to get tougher as we kind of step a little bit further into December, right? I mean, that's going to be the challenge, all this snow.
And the USDA has had a very aggressive harvested number here all year long. Mm-hmm. They're using a 91% harvested number compared to the planted acres. This year is going very far long out. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 or 3, 4 million acres that don't get harvested here this fall.
Yeah, and so as we start to wait for more information to help make these markets react in some way, do you think we're starting now on the front edge of that to see a harvest rally?
Well, seasonally, mid-November, seasonally, historically, November is not a very good time for grain marketing. Okay. I mean, seasonally, historically, it is a down month. There's just a lot of lack of information that the market doesn't know. There's trade deals that haven't been gotten, signed yet.
Right.
And then we're in this time frame where we already had the November crop report, and now we're waiting until the January final production report. So we have some time here where we're not going to get a lot of new information out of the USDA.
Yeah, so what would you be doing real quick between now and that January report?
Well, I'm not a seller of grain at these prices. We've kind of come down here in the last couple of weeks. You know, beans are on about a 40-cent sell-off. Corn is right there at 30 cents. So I'm not selling into this downtrend. I'm going to keep some puts underneath it and wait for better prices down the road.
All right, well, that's good advice. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being here. We'll be back with more Ag Day and a check of weather coming up in just a minute.
For a special report on the grain markets, call toll-free at 877-TT-HEDGE. That's 877-884-3343. Ag Day, brought to you by the Enlist Weed Control System. More weed control, less drift and volatility, maximum yield potential.
Meteorologist Cindy Clausen here, taking a look at our weather map. And Cindy, it sounds like it may be a little bit warmer in the middle of the country this week.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we had such a chilly week last week for so much of the country. This week's going to be much, much different. Let's take a look. Taking a look first at where our fronts are going to be today, we do have kind of a weaker system that's moving through the Great Lakes and into the Tennessee, Ohio valleys. That's going to bring some rain and even some snow to parts of the country. The real focus over the next couple of days is going to be the southwest, where we see some tropical moisture coming in, and we're going to be seeing rain really spreading into kind of the southwestern part of the country. Now, as we put this into motion, first watch that rain and again, touch of snow in the Great Lakes area as that low pressure system, it's weakening, but pushing off to the east. We do have some of that moisture coming up into parts of the Four Corners region as we head into tonight. And you'll really see that starting to spread through the whole area. Higher elevation snow is possible in those spots. Now, as we head through our Wednesday, we start to see things quiet down in a lot of the eastern part of the country. Still just a touch of snow in the northeast, but that moisture continues to spread now into parts of the southern and central plains. You've got that snow on the backside of a tail end of a cold front. Of course, you've got that moisture surging northward, so look for a lot of that snow, especially over in Wyoming. Now, precipitation estimates as we get over the last 24 hours, really most of the focus has been in the northeast and in the northwest, but a lot of areas have been on the drier side. The next 24 hours, you can really see the focus. The most moisture is going to be coming up into the southwestern United States, where we could be seeing 1 to 2 inches of liquid precipitation. Then as we look at the snowfall, again, there's not been a lot there, mostly in the northeast and into the far northwest. You add on the next 24 hours and you'll start to see some of those higher elevations in the west and into northern parts of the Rockies. You really see that snow starting to build in there. So temperature-wise, we mentioned that's going to be really different. Look at this. We're back into the 70s again now in the southern plains, and 40s. Hey, that's not bad in the north central United States and into the Great Lakes. A few 30s there as well, but this is very different than the very, very cold air we were seeing this time last week. Now, as far as the overnight lows we go, still pretty mild, 50s and 60s down south in the south central United States, some 30s across the northern tier, and that's not too bad. As far as the jet stream, trough moving out of the east, but really watch what's going on in the southwest. So we've got this big system, and that's all going to be moving through the nation's midsection, bringing a fair amount of rain into parts of the Mississippi Valley, into the Ohio Valley, even as we get into the latter part of the week, especially Wednesday night, Thursday, and into Friday. Temperatures really do stay warmer in the western part of the country, another secondary trough in the east, but then early next week, got another trough entering the western parts of the country. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Egg Harbor, Wisconsin, early snow today, but then cloudy and cool with a high of 39. Walterboro, South Carolina, patchy fog, otherwise sunny and dry with a high of 64. And Sydney, Nebraska, sunny and a high of 68.
America's farmers have made big strides in conservation. Up next, a new series profiling some of the best in the business.
America's Conservation Ag Movement is brought to you by these great foundational partners, empowering resilient and sustainable agriculture.
We're starting a new series here on Ag Day, America's Conservation Ag Movement. We'll be profiling some of the best in the business, focused on high-yielding production agriculture while keeping a close eye on the environment and long-term sustainability. Today, we meet a Kansas rancher who's shaping her land and the conversation around conservation agriculture.
Take a trip across the wind-whipped plains of central Kansas
and you'll find the Blythe Family Farm just outside White City.
We are a diversified farm and ranch, and that we have a few crops that we mostly feed our cattle, but also we have about 250 mama cows.
The family operation has been a fixture of this tall grass prairie since settling here back in 1890.
I will tell you that I really am nobody special. I am a typical rancher in Kansas.
And yet Debbie Lyons Blythe has been anything but typical when it comes to speaking out about the future of the beef industry.
Sustainability really has gotten a bad rap, in my opinion, and that word is really not liked a lot by cattle ranchers and farmers, as well as consumers, frankly.
But to her, it's the work her family has always done. Rotational grazing, maintaining water quality, protecting the native prairie and wildlife.
We've always been interested in doing a better job, being more efficient, caring for the land in a better way. So when the conversation was happening about sustainability and very top down from the retailer back down the production line, I pointed out that you can't measure it the same in every state. Well, I got kicked off the conference calls back then.
Which is why she agreed to be part of the U.S. Roundtable for Sustainable Beef. Rather than top down, the membership includes all stakeholders, from ranchers like Lyons Blythe to retailers, feed yards, packers, auctions, including grocery stores and food companies.
We all have an equal say. To me, that's really valuable.
Like those Kansas pond banks after a rain, the very first step was a muddy one.
It took us about 2 years to actually define sustainability.
And while the final written version has lots of big words, Debbie says it like this.
Take care of the land, take care of the animals, take care of the people who live and work on the land, and make money.
That concept was then broken down further. Each indicator, 6 in total, need real measurable metrics for every link in the value chain.
So when we talk about water quality, one of the questions that we ask is, for a farm, do you have a grazing management plan? If you have a grazing management plan, then you are paying attention to your water. But then go to the absolute opposite end of the beef value chain. At a retail level, we talk about how they manage water as well. Do you have a leaky toilet? Do you have a bad water line?
Creating a definition and now data.
Farmers and ranchers are the original environmentalists, but I can't just say that. I have to prove it. So we need data. We need to be able to prove what we're doing is right.
Helping this family legacy and others like it continue down a sustainable path.
So to me, sustainability really shouldn't be a bad word.
So how do some old dogs manage to keep their puppy good looks? That's just what scientists want to know, and they want to hear from you. How you can help this study that could also be beneficial to humans. Next. We know some of those farm and ranch dogs out there are pretty incredible. Now scientists are trying to recruit 10,000 pet dogs in the largest ever study of health aging in canines. The research team behind the project is hoping their study will shed light on helping their human friends live longer too. Frisbee is 14 years old, but people often confuse her for a puppy. Her owner, Daniel Promislow, is a pathology professor and director of the Canine Longevity Consortium. Now, Promislow is the co-director of a project called the Dog Aging Project. The National Institute on Aging is paying for the $23 million project because dogs and humans share the same environment, get the same diseases, and dogs' shorter lifespans allow quicker research results.
There are lots of questions that dog owners have about how to make sure that their dog stays healthy for just as long as possible. We actually have pretty limited idea about things like diet and how diet affects aging in dogs. What's the optimal diet? These are things that we can discover. We can also learn about how exercise and the kind of exercise that dogs do affects how well they age.
The project will collect a pile of pooch data, vet records, DNA samples, gut microbes, And information on kibble. A subset of 500 dogs will test a pill that could slow the aging process. For the study, the dogs will live normally at home, possibly with extra visits to veterinarian specialists for certain tests. For more information, check out our website, agday.com, and click on the news links. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in and spent part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.